As we continue our journey into South Park and looking at the various businesses back in time, we come to this point here where we looked at in a previous video of South Park, of the inner urban station. And we didn't dwell on what this window said, at least I didn't dwell on the top part. But if you look closely, you can see what it says. Factory Land Company Limited. This is the end result of a vision that three men had for the southern part of Port Huron. The three men were the Moak brothers, Eugene and Edward, and the third person was a prominent attorney in Port Huron by the name of William Lee Jenks. He also went on to become a well-known historian of the early years of Port Huron. They wanted to create a model community in the old 11th Ward on Port Huron's south end. This is going to be something that would attract manufacturing for certain, a factory district that would be located close enough for workmen to walk home for lunch. And they envisioned that the workmen would have homes, reasonable priced homes, that would be close to their work, that they could actually walk to work. And it would be much grass and trees and shrubbery. A beautiful place they had envisioned for South Park. And as far as the downtown area, no saloons were going to be permitted in the commercial district at all. In this article that was written about Factory Land, it says this: the Factory Land Company was organized in the spring of 1900 for the purpose of purchasing, improving, and selling land, encouraging manufacturing and building and renting factories, etc. A specialty is made of sales of houses for which payments are made in weekly installments to be retained by the paymasters of the company with which the Factory Land Company is connected. And it goes on to name some of the companies that was attracted to South Park, mainly the Port Huron Engine and Pressure Company, Port Huron Manufacturing Company, Port Huron Salt Company, and the City Electric Railway Company. This map here shows the large space that they had reserved for heavy industry to come into South Park. I was always puzzled by the fact that South Park would brag on being able to have manufacturing come to South Park by the Port Huron Engine and Pressure Company. Because as far as I knew, the only Port Huron English and Treasure Company I was aware of was off of 24th Street there at Bancroft, right next to the tracks, which you see here. And that area certainly wasn't South Park. But after doing some research and looking at old maps, I found this. If you look at this map here, you can see that the company had a plant, a second plant on 24th Street, which would later be the location for Prestolite. And as you can see here, they had a good-sized in-house lumberyard on Connor Street. And not only was the second plant located in South Park, but they also had a third plant that was located in South Park at 28th and Moak Street. This is plant number 3 here. The Moak brothers, Eugene and Edward Moak, actually worked at Port Huron Engine and Thresher Company, but at the time, of course, it wasn't called that. It was called Upton Manufacturing, and later on they changed the name. And while there, they met two other brothers, the Dodge brothers, John and Horace Dodge. They wouldn't stay in Port Huron long, but while they were there, they made good friends with the Moaks. Such good friends that actually after they had left and moved to Detroit and made their fame and fortune, they came back to Port Huron to visit the Moaks, but they wouldn't drive up to Port Huron for their visit. They would bring their yacht, the Delphine. Not really a bad way to travel if you got the bucks. The Dodge boys would anchor right off the village green in South Park, and I think you can figure out from the satellite view where the village green is. It's that green area in the center between North and South Boulevard that goes all the way into about right up to the shore of the river. This village green was donated by the Moak brothers and Mr. Jenks for the community of South Park. And it was used as a park. It was used eventually to build a school there and a playground. So it was a very nice addition to the community. I say anchor because I don't really think they had the docking facilities off the shoreline. You can see this picture here that was taken near that time period and what it looked like along the riverbank in South Park. Eventually money was put aside to build a park in South Park, and here you see a picture of it here facing the water and park benches there, and you'll never guess what they named this park. Well, maybe you can. They named it South Park, which eventually people referred to that name whether they're going to the park or not. We're going to South Park. And here's a view that you may have had as you're sitting on one of those park benches looking out and see the Tajmu coming down from Port Huron or Sarnia on the way to Detroit, just off the shoreline there. Getting back to the village green, here's a view from Electric Avenue between North and South Boulevard, but now the village green is called Lincoln Park. And here's what that same view would look like in 1902, a very peaceful setting. Further up Lincoln Park, near 28th Street, in this area right here, is where Lincoln School used to be, and I'm sure many of you remember that school from your childhood. And I was able to obtain one photograph of the Lincoln School, which is right here. I'm sure this will bring back some memories for somebody. As we look at this old picture of North Boulevard, we can see some of these homes, I'm sure, that were built for the factory workers. And if we zoom in here and look closely at this house here, we can see that some of these houses are still around today. And I believe that house that you're looking at here is actually this house here, just around the curve. Still in pretty good shape today. In this photograph here, you can see South Boulevard. And as we zoom in here, we can see the horse pulling the wagon. Looks like some folks in it. Can't get a real good clear picture, but it also looks like these are dirt roads. Here's a little closer look at South Boulevard. You get a better look at the road. And it's quite a primitive road, but that wouldn't be unusual because, well, let's face it, South Park was just being developed. Here's a little bit more of a panoramic view, if you will. You can see both North and South Boulevard, and if you don't realize what that body of water is out there, they're telling you it's the river. Alright, let's get back to the factories and the heavy industry in South Park. The Moak brothers and Mr. Jenks now had land to sell. They were trying to attract heavy industry to South Park. And there was one person that was very interested. Matter of fact, this person wanted to buy every piece of land that they had in South Park, or just about every piece of land they had available, for his business. And that business was automobile manufacturing. His name was Ransom Eli Bose. Bose received his first patent for a gasoline-powered car in 1886 while he was living in Lansing, Michigan. In 1899, he was looking for a place to build his factories. He approached the developers about buying their land set aside for heavy industry in South Park. Mr. O's would have required the entire industrial property. And at that time, the decision was made by a Factory Lands Company board that they would rather cast their lot with several small industries than with one large automobile company, the soundness of which had not been established at that early date. And the decision made sense. Automakers, including a couple in Port Huron, didn't last very long in the early years of the 20th century. O was rejected by Port Huron, established his new factory in Detroit, where he, and not Henry Ford as widely believed, created the assembly line in 1901. There's an historical marker in Lansing that says this: Ransom Eli O's in Lansing on August 21, 1897. Ransom E. O's founded the O's Motor Vehicle Company, the precursor to Oldsmobile. He produced 4 vehicles that year. In 1899, O's relocated to Port Huron. Whoops, that's wrong. He relocated to Detroit. What could have been? Well, we can't be too hard on these developers because they did attract a lot of business to South Park, and they also attracted a car company to South Park, the Havers Car Company. Notice this advertisement for Havers says South Park, Port Huron, Michigan. That kind of stumped me because for most of us historians or people interested in automotive history, remember Havers Plant is the old Port Huron engine and thresher plant, Bancroft and 24th. You can see it right here. And this location is not really part of South Park, so that kind of had me stumped. But when I went back through some old maps, I see that they did have a plant in South Park. Now, whether it was their first plant, and they later went to Bancroft and 24th, or more than likely it was just an assembly plant in addition to the one on 24th. You can see by this map here, it was on the corner of Moak and 28th Street. And it was right across the street from the Port Huron Engine and Thresher Company plant. So it kind of makes sense that the two probably go together, and they took over eventually from the threshing plant and made a manufacturing for automobiles out of it. Whether they still kept this plant later or not, I don't know, but I do know they eventually moved to this location up by Elmwood and Pine Grove, the old EMF plant. And here we see the proud owners of New Havers, top down, enjoying the weather. And in the background you see the old junior college, or during that period of time, probably the Maccabees building, the ladies of the Maccabees. This company only lasted a few years and then they were gone. This map here shows you some of the other businesses that were attracted to South Park. We see Moak Machine and Tool Company, Connor and Anchor Health Manufacturing Company. We also see the American Magnetic Wire Company there on 24th. And then over here to the left, we see one of Holmes' factories, plant number 4. And if we go up there, we see United Brass and Aluminum Company. We see the Lambert Coal Company, St. Clair County Road Commission, Great Lakes Foundry, Holmes plant number 3. And these are just the ones that were involved in plant number 1, which is pretty much close to downtown. Just to the west of the Havers plant was Wilson Manufacturing Company. This was a saw company, saws and blades. And it was a pretty big concern. Look at this picture here. A nice addition to the South Park manufacturing complex. Just below Wilson Manufacturing Company was the Lee Manufacturing Company. And here you can see a ad for it, but also a drawing of what the plant looked like. This was basically a foundry and a machine shop, but you can see the different things on the ad that they produced. Well, folks, we're getting very near in our journey, going to the southern boundaries of Port Huron. Join me in my next video, and we'll look and see what else we can find out about South Park.